If you have older cabinets in your kitchen or bathroom, the doors may not be working properly or may make noise. It's time to replace those hinges. And today in this video, I'm going to show you how to upgrade those cabinets with soft close hinges. Now, when our kitchen was installed over 30 years ago, soft close hinges really weren't around. So, about 15 years ago, I installed these pistons that kind of simulate a soft close when you don't have soft close hinges. But the hinges and those pistons have now worn out. So it's time to change those old hinges, get rid of the pistons, and install new soft close hinges. Now, when you're replacing the hinges on your cabinet, the biggest thing is to check what type of hinge you have. And the most important thing there is whether you have frameless or face frame cabinets. In our case, we have frameless full overlay hinges on the existing cabinets, so that's the type of hinge I looked for and purchased. Make sure that you get the same style of hinge that your existing cabinets use. I got the 50 pack of the Chibury frameless soft close hinges, so I could replace all the hinges on all the cabinets in our kitchen. Now, these hinges come with everything you need to replace old hinges, or if you're building new cabinets, to install them on new doors. If you're replacing existing hinges, you're only going to need the hinge because you're going to use the existing screws from the old hinge. If you're installing them in new doors, you're going to need either just the screws or the screws and the plugs in order to install these hinges. So I'm going to start by removing the old hinge here. I'm going to remove the screws from the door first and then from the cabinet. I have two different types of screws for the door and the cabinet. I have a number 2 Phillips for the door and a number 2 square for the cabinet. Just use the screwdriver that you have. And what I'm doing is removing them. Now you'll notice these are flat head at the end screws. That's because these have plugs in them. The door, these are oak, and sometimes they'll use plugs because a pointed end screw could split the wood. So I've removed it from the door. Now I'll remove it from the cabinet side. Saving the screws, of course, because we're going to reuse them for the new hinge. Okay, and what I like to do is to close the hinge, then remove it from the door. If you only have 2 hinges on the door, make sure that you support the door because otherwise it'll tilt and that could cause a problem. So now I've got my new hinge and it's going to go in just like that. I'm going to get my screws for the door first. We're going to attach it to the door first. I'll put 1 screw in. I'm not going to tighten that fully because I want to make sure that the other screw is going to go in and fit here. Again, hold the door if you need to when you're doing this. So now I can tighten both screws fully. And now I can place the plate against and see whether the holes line up with the holes that are in the cabinet sidewall there. If I need to move this plate either towards the door or away from the door, that's what this screw will do. This screw will move that plate forwards or backwards towards or away from the door. So mine is all the way towards the door and it looks like that's exactly where I need it to be. So I'll switch screwdrivers here. Again, not tightening that first screw all the way. I've got both of them tight. Now, once you've tightened it on, you're likely going to have to make some adjustments to the hinge so that the door lines up with the cabinetry and the other doors. This screw, as I said, moves the door in or out from the cabinet. This screw here moves the door up or down because it moves this plate up or down. And that screw will be on the bottom if it's on the other side. So just look for it. It's the one close to one of the screws that hold it to the cabinet. And this screw here moves the door horizontally on the face of the door. So if I screw this in, you'll notice that the door is moving more towards, in this case, it's the center. This is 2 doors on this cabinet. And so adjust the hinges as you need to make sure that the doors line up with each other and with the cabinetry. Now you have a soft closed door that doesn't bang when it closes. If the cabinet side of the hinge just won't line up with those existing holes, you're going to have to use new holes to attach the hinge to the side of the cabinet. Move the hinge holes away from the existing holes because you need good wood to grip into. Now, if you want to use the screws that are provided, then make sure you drill a 1/2 inch deep pilot hole first so you don't split the wood, and then use the screws to attach it. Sometimes you're going to need to use the plugs instead if you can't get a good grip with the regular type of screws. So in that case, use a 5/16 inch drill bit. Drill that hole the depth of the plug, put the plug in, hammer it in, and then use the flat end screws to attach the hinge to the cabinet. Now this is a simple DIY project you can take on in probably half a day. It will make a big difference in the way that the doors function, and they'll be a lot quieter. I'll link to the hinges that I use down in the description below. If you found this video helpful, then please consider clicking the like button and subscribing to the channel so you get more videos on how you can upgrade your home, like these that I think you'll also find interesting. Thanks for watching.